Hey guys, what's up? Total Control 871. Welcome back to the Vertical Censorship Log. Okay, what we're looking at here today is a criticism of Governor Desantis, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. I don't know if you've seen any of it, but I'll play a little bit for you.
COVID cases are obviously rapidly rising around the country. Over 1 million cases in one day reported this week. We're now at 700 and 800,000 virtually every day. And Florida, as in previous waves, has not been immune from that. They've been hit incredibly hard. And yet for weeks, DeSantis was gone. Governor Ron DeSantis couldn't be found. And it was not helping him politically. The Democrats there were making a big deal out of it, and yet he would not show his face. So that leads people to wonder why. Why, during this horrible pandemic, would he suddenly disappear? Well, he is back now. On Wednesday, he gave a speech in Florida to announce nearly $10 million would be awarded to support semiconductor and other tech manufacturing. But here's the thing. As he was doing that, he had to speak. And that apparently was causing a bit of an issue for him. So we're going to show you a little bit of a video. We want you to listen to the governor.
Have expanded our manufacturing footprint in the state of Florida, and we want to continue to be able to do that as we go forward. Semiconductors are a huge issue. If you look at how the supply chain works, we are overly dependent on foreign nations, including Taiwan, which is a good ally of ours, but which is one that is under really serious pressure from the Communist Party of China. And
so, look, many people have noted that he doesn't sound like himself there immediately following a weeks-long disappearance from the media. Anna, what do you make of it?
He sounds like he's sick. He definitely sounds like he's sick. Either that or he's emotional. There's no reason to believe he's emotional. He sounds like he's sick. Yeah. I hope he's taken a COVID test. And I hope that he's forthright in regard to what the result of that test is. He sounds sick.
He definitely sounds sick. Well, look, and you rightly laid out, there are at least two plausible explanations. One is that he's on the tail end of a pernicious respiratory illness, but what is the likelihood of that in Florida? The other is that dude's dog better have just died, because he is about to break out in tears amidst talking about semiconductor grants, which doesn't make any sense unless something really traumatic happened. Okay? And if that's the case, then I'll take back what I've said. But that dude sounded like he was either about to start to cry or that he was having difficulty breathing enough to speak about semiconductors.
Okay, guys, the first thing that I'll draw your attention to in our latest draconian censorship wrought by Alphabet Google. Let's take a look here. The title, and that would be, DeSantis has COVID, asked in kind of a questioning way. What I found interesting is when I go into the comments section, the way, the comments are programmed, the comment that you have left should be left right here at the top, Now, what this means is, I get it, I don't expect everybody out there to see my comment at the top. It's just simply the way the app is programmed so that you don't have to go looking for your own comments. It just simply puts yours at the top of the queue, okay, so that you don't have to go digging for your own comments. And here we see my comment is completely missing. I'm not going to scroll like forever, but dare I say, I think it has either A, been deleted or shadow banned to the max. So where can we find my comment? Well, we'll minimize. And here we see it. We know that we're talking about the same video, okay? So we know we're talking about the same video as the video down here. Why do I make my arrows so bad? I swear. Same video. So it's the same video. And yet we don't see my comment anywhere. It's just gone, Here, I'll refresh. And there, it's gone. So what was it that I said that got it so shadow banned? Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, let's get into our thing here. So what we got here? First, your cult seems to have forgotten to include that Desantis is fully injected. Yes, people. It's the latest version, It's the latest version of our taboo word, censored spelling. So if you're going to slam his health, then by proxy, you're also slamming the efficacy of what you call a vaccine. Second, why is getting sick suddenly a cause for shame or ridicule? Lots of politicians get sick in public, and I don't think any less of them for it, I didn't think any less of George Bush Sr. when he threw up at the dinner table, and I didn't think any less of Hillary Clinton when she almost passed out in front of her SUV. The right wing, they were making a big to-do about that. I don't think any less of people for getting sick. Illness, it happens. It's a part of life. So we've got what's most likely a troll bot or what have you. It says, there is really no end to the ignorant, infantile, childish, treasonous, childishness of you treasonous. My goodness. I'm treasonous, everybody. I'm treasonous for the comment. I mean, I don't know. Did anything of what I said here, is any of this sound treasonous for you? I even said that I didn't have a problem with Republican or Democrat politicians becoming ill. What part of treasonous factors in here? But then again, silly me, I'm always thinking with a logical mind, and we know that the alt-left, the communist left, because frankly, the left has gone so far left, they have broken the scale, and they are just simply pure communist puppets at this point. If it's either Russia or China, North Korea, Saudi Arabia might even be in there for some, for some of it. I'm telling you, all of these communist countries, although Saudi Arabia, that's a monarchy. That's ruled by a king. But you get what I'm saying, It's all the same thing. All of these countries are licking their chops and they are ready to carve America up like a Thanksgiving turkey. I've been saying that for a while now. And what I reply, of course I'm going to reply with logic. And I say, well, looks like there's more to the story. This is a link to Forbes' version that offers more clarity. Let's take a look at it, shall we?
Mayor has been very critical with the way this is responding to the surge. He wants to see if we will be promoting things like vaccination, social distancing, mask wearing instead of just the treatment.
I can tell you this. We are not letting anybody impose restrictions or mandates on the people of Florida. That is totally off the table. That is not going to stand. You can make decisions for yourself and your family that you see fit. To impose social distancing mandates with a variant that is airborne, go read the MIT study that they did in 2020, which says if you have an aerosolized airborne pathogen, 3-6 feet, it's obsolete. If you're in an area with something, it's going to be in the air. That's just the reality with Omicron. It is way, way, way more contagious. Now, it's much less pathogenic than Delta. There's no question about that, too. But the notion that we would be imposing any type of mandates or restrictions on people is insane. I cannot believe they're closing schools in these other states. I mean, have we learned nothing throughout this whole time? They're sacrificing these poor, and most of them are poor and low-income kids that are bearing the brunt of this, and they're doing that for no scientific reason. It's all politics, and it's just fundamentally wrong. So we're not doing that. Now, what are we doing? We've been talking about the treatments. We had our treatments cut dramatically We've had a plan in place for many months that if we did see an increase, we would be able to have sites stood up within 24 hours. We can do that. We've been talking about the need, and fortunately, as of now, HHS has finally agreed to fulfill what we want. And so we haven't gotten it yet, but when we do, literally the next day, you'll have additional sites throughout the state of Florida. And so that's something that's very important. Also, we found that the federal government promised that it was going to send a lot of these at-home rapid tests out to individual Americans who wanted them. They haven't sent anything that we've seen. So we said, okay, what we're going to do, we've acquired some, we're going to acquire more. We're going to start with our long-term care facilities for our elderly, and then we're going to try to focus it on the senior population because, I don't want somebody that's 75 to have to wait in line for an hour, especially when a lot of the people that are testing are more low-risk people. So we are going to do that because the federal government hasn't come through with that, and we're happy to do it. I mean, obviously we shouldn't have had to do it because they've made a lot of promises in that regard, but we will. And then we're also going to be putting up some updated testing guidelines, not mandates or requirements. I mean, if you want to go into the drugstore and buy 15 tests for yourself to have, you're free to do that. But what these guidelines are going to point out is what is high value testing versus what is low value testing. High value testing would be if someone is at risk, 75 years old, let's say, has a condition, develops the symptoms, you want a quick test so that you can then treat. If you're somebody who is very low risk, no health problems, no symptoms, just testing over and over again is not really clinically proven to be very much of a value. Again, you're free to do it, but we're putting that out there so that people understand, because some of the stuff is, I think people are whipped up to be afraid of Omicron, and the fact of the matter is, for the vast majority of people, Omicron is something that's going to be more akin to what you would see with a seasonal flu or even the cold-like symptoms, and so that.
Indeed. So, I didn't necessarily want to play that much of it for you, but I didn't want to be accused of cheating. It looks like there we are. It's the exact same press conference on manufacturing. Ron Desantis, just minutes later, cleared whatever it was in his throat, and he is talking just fine, which is what my comment was about. Here I spell it out just fine. His breathing cleared up just fine. He probably just started his speech on an awkward breath. Also, I'd like to throw in as a little secondary follow-up thought. How many of us have just simply swallowed a bit of spit the wrong way that kind of went into our lungs rather than down our esophagus? And yeah, that can, that'll choke you up there a little bit for a while. And he is trying, and who are we kidding? He is trying to speak, and he does know that what has happened will happen, that every little cough or clearing of the throat, it's gotten silly. It's why I made the comment about Bush Sr. and Hillary Clinton. This has gotten silly. Regardless of which side of the political aisle, all of a sudden people are terrified to clear their throat. If that's the case, well then, my God, I guess I've been suffering from COVID the last 3 years, huh? As you can hear, so what? I'm suffering from COVID? And everything about my herniation and the way it affects my diaphragm and the way that affects my esophagus, that's all just in my mind, huh? Apparently, we're now in a reality where the only time that you cough is if you are a plague ship, harbinger of death. And it's gotten silly and ridiculous, and we need to stop it. A lot of this stuff we need to stop. What do I go on to say here? Kind of like how when a singer, I've seen it. Simon Cowell absolutely hates it. He rips the singers, he rips them a new one. He tells them, don't you ever stop and start again. But yeah, sometimes singers, they just they strike out onto the song, and they can feel it, that that they just kind of started in an awkward fashion, maybe not necessarily in the key that they wanted to start in. They'll stop and they'll restart it again. So basically, that's kind of that's kind of what we got here with DeSantis. I go on to say here, but once DeSantis got into the rhythm of his speech, he turned out to be just fine. He eagerly engaged, and that's why I played as much of it for you that I did. The man eagerly engaged with the Q&A portion. Dare I say, he might have even had some anxiety. Like I say, everybody's scrutinizing every little cough, every little wiggle of the voice. It's gotten silly and it's gotten ridiculous, okay? Now, our latest here, okay, we'll close out the Forbes. Otis Dillon says, the vaccine reduces the chances of getting COVID-19. Is that a fact? And if you get it, you won't get it as bad. You won't get a bad case of it. But the vaccine isn't 100% effective. No one is saying that it's impossible to get COVID if you've been what he calls vaccinated. Well, let's check out my reply, shall we? To which I reply to Otis and say, but the problem the COVID cult runs into with this particular excuse is that they forget a whopping 50 million plus have tested PCR positive for what you call a pandemic. Not only did the vast majority of these people not need hospitalization, they didn't even need over-the-counter meds. As for the demographic that did get sick, they are the same demographic that frequents the ER room for several pre-existing comorbidities. I bet that's something that we never hear from the news. Of the people that's in there, how many times have they been to the hospital over the past couple of years? See, we're not going to get any of this. Sorry, but your experimental compound does absolutely nothing but make government bureaucrats filthy rich. All right, as you can imagine, this is the vertical censorship log, and of course, boom, it is gone. Gone. So, what is it? What is the taboo words? What is the taboo phrase here? Well, let's take a look, shall we? Okay, and we're back. We have our comment reposted again. Can you tell the difference? If you can see the difference, let me ask you, does it make your blood run cold? What alphabet Google is censoring? Let's read. But the problem the COVID cult runs into with this particular excuse is that they forget a whopping 50 million plus have tested PCR positive for what you call a pandemic. Not only did the vast majority of these people not need hospitalization, they didn't even need over-the-counter meds. As for the demographic that did get sick, they are the same demographic that frequents the ER room for several pre-existing comorbidities. Sorry, but your experimental compound does absolutely nothing. And as we can see, I wanted to make sure I gave it ample time for the censorship algorithm to take issue with it. Okay. Let's come back up here. Give another refresh. Come back down. Here we are. Now it's 3 minutes old. Are you ready to have your blood run cold? Let's edit. Accept. Make. Government. Bureaucrats. Filthy rich. Filthy rich. Okay, so now our whole comment has been restored. It's edited back to its original version. As for the as I'm reading down here, our second paragraph. As for the demographic that did get sick, they were the same demographic that frequents the ER for several pre-existing comorbidities. Sorry, but your experimental compound does absolutely nothing except make government bureaucrats filthy rich. Oh my, I didn't leave a period. Let's have good punctuation, shall we? Good punctuation. Lowercase our rich. And let's see if the update takes. No! Comment failed to post. Absolutely not. Refresh, and it's gone. How do you feel about that? I just showed you in real time that Alphabet Google is taking issue with the U.S. government being criticized. How do you feel about that? You know, what I find interesting is that they're not even necessarily taking issue with me calling it an experimental compound, you know? I thought they may get bent out of shape over me calling it an experimental compound. Or me saying that the compound does absolutely nothing. Are you paying attention? Google did. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's probably just a matter of time before the words that I have circled here end up on the naughty list. So here I'm able to, for the moment anyway, criticize their injection efficacy, saying that it does absolutely nothing. But what I am strictly forbidden from doing is saying that it's the government bureaucrats like Fauci. This comment here is doing nothing but protecting Fauci and all of his cohorts. How do you feel about that? It really is sad that they're trying to just simply viciously malign Governor Desantis. He's doing an incredible job, and he is also helping his wife through a very difficult time. And of course, the radicalized alt-left. You know, I was also listening to somebody talk about Justice Sotomayor. It was Tim Pool over on his podcast channel, where they were arguing because, you know, Sotomayor, her statements were so psychotic, crazy, unhinged. They were wondering, what category does Sotomayor fall into? Is she actually stupid? Because the woman proclaimed that she didn't understand the difference between federal and state law. I wish I was making that up. And that made their blood run cold. That people, excuse me. Remember, this is our highest court in the land, and we're starting to hear these people talk psychotic nonsense. You're saying that you don't understand the fundamental differences between federal and state law. You're a Supreme Court justice. How does that even happen? And as they were arguing, you know, is she in denial or is she just inept? Do you know what I think it is? These people, Sotomayor's and corporate media, These people are radicals. It's not that she's stupid. It's not that she's inept, brain damaged. They are deep state radicals. And it is their mission to destroy America. Just as Alphabet Google destroys any kind of criticism of the U.S. government. My comment was deleted as if I was calling for insurrection, bombs being planted, people assassinated. Why? I just simply called them rich, opportunistic. You're welcome to disagree, but why is it deleted? Why is it forbidden? How do you feel about that? All right, guys.
I can tell you this. We are not letting anybody impose restrictions or mandates on the people of Florida. That is totally off the table. That is not going to stand. You can make decisions for yourself and your family that you see fit.
Look at how I got Ron freeze framed. But you know what? I freeze framed him like this for a very good reason. I know it might not necessarily be the best flattering, but look at him. His eyes are wide. His hands are spread wide out. This man is having no difficulty whatsoever speaking and gesticulating. Whatever was in his throat, he obviously cleared it. The radicals are attacking. Make sure you're ready for it. We're going to be talking about how the radicals, the deep state, the World Wide Web. You see, the oligarchy has been run from land to land for 5,000 years. 5,000 years. Everywhere they go, it always starts good. They come with philanthropy and education, but it always ends in shit. Okay? They always get chased and run out everywhere that they go. Sooner or later, whatever king of the land that currently occupies, they get fed up with their bullshit and kick them the fuck out. Why? Because they end up figuring it out that these people are not worth the trouble. They cause more havoc than what they are worth. We're going to talk about it. All right, people, this has been an episode of the Vertical Censorship Log. Alphabet Google is no longer allowing you to criticize the government, the bureaucrats, the non-elected who are controlling your life. Total Control 871.